Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Varun Patel and I'm the CEO at Spokes Digital. Spokes Digital is the leading provider of digital marketing services to cannabis and hemp CBD industry. Today we are presenting advanced UTM tracking of paid media success for our industry. This is from our experience working with various clients. Now, I think we all know that there are a lot of challenges in the industry in terms of using Google Ads or any other major platform like Facebook, and there are regulations that we have to work with. And since there are regulations, we cannot sometimes run the campaigns directly linking with Google Analytics, and we cannot track the real ROI campaigns. So we found that using UTMs is very successful, and I think is very efficient method to track the ROI of your campaigns. And we have been using UTMs to track the success of the campaigns, and we wanted to share our knowledge and experience while we have learned a lot of tricks and techniques and importance of using UTM parameters in our industry. So it will be presented by me and Lauren Laplante. We would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom panel. We can bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. And as always, a record version of the webinar will be available to all of you on our Spokes Digital website. So now without further ado, we will start with the presentation. Lauren, it's over to you.
Thank you, Varun. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to our presentation. Okay, so like Varun said, we're going to talk about the UTM parameters and using them to track your success in paid campaigns. So we always start with a quote from the industry, and this is from Marissa Heckman, who's with Power Digital Marketing. Essentially, whenever you are planning to drive traffic to your website through social media, UTM codes serve as a reliable way to measure the success of the post through Google Analytics. This is essentially what our talk here is all about, and you'll see this throughout social media, paid ads. And we always start our webinars with some statistics that are focused on the topic. So I want to point to you the first and the last bullets in particular, that 76% of marketers are still struggling to track ROI of their campaigns. And what I like to say is, if you can't track the performance, then you don't know how well you're doing. So it's really important to be able to track your campaigns. Another stat I want to bring out is the data-driven marketing increases the ROI. And that, again, you need to track the data. I know at Spokes Digital, we're very data-driven, and we focus on the return on investment as well as the return on ad spend for our paid campaigns. The next stat that I want to point out is about 3 out of every 4 marketing leaders surveyed, 76% based decisions on data analytics. So again, driving home that data-driven, just really looking at the numbers don't lie. And then finally, that last bullet, more than 2/3 of e-commerce website traffic comes from Google, and 43% are coming from organic, and 26% are coming from the paid campaigns. So you see how important it is to have a combination of digital marketing going on, the organic as well as the paid. Next slide, Brew. So Brian has a question is this webinar all about marketing? Actually, Brian, it's about the paid ad campaigns through different search engines, through Google, through Bing. It looks like Varun dropped. We lost him. So he was having the slides, but I'll put these up. Just bear with me a second. Let me share my screen.
Oh, guys, I'm back. I think I had some.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to share or you would like to share?
That's fine, Lauren. You can proceed.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into the meat of our webinar. And I'll start out talking about what are UTM parameters and how do they work? Just the essentials of them. So UTM parameters are simply a tag that you add to your URL to track an email or an ad campaign, for example. And when somebody clicks on that URL, it sends a signal back to Google Analytics so that tracking is specific to the click or the behavior of that user. A little bit of history behind UTM. I'm always curious about where these names come from. So UTM stands for Urchin Tracking Module. And Urchin was originally a web analytics software developed by Urchin Software Corporation, and it was designed specifically to track the unique behavior of the users. So Google purchased Urchin Software back in 2005, and that was basically the creation of Google Analytics came from the acquisition of Urchin Software Corporation. So now getting into how the UTM parameters work. And it's really like the sales funnel that we've talked about in other webinars. So creating the content, creating your social media post or your ad, and then adding or connecting the UTM parameter to the URL. And then the Google Analytics tracks that unique URL with the UTM tag in it, and it updates the Google Analytics metrics. So here you see on the right, the source, the medium, the campaign, the term, and the content. So we're going to get into details with this, but this is basically the granularity by which you can track the user behavior. Next, why do we use UTM parameters? Again, it's all about getting as much information about the user as possible. So you know what they're looking for, what's motivating them to come to your website, what kind of products are they looking for, what words are they searching on, and ultimately, when are they buying? And how can tracking that consumer journey? So the initial goal of the UTM is to track the return on your investment of the ad campaigns. And by creating those unique pages with the unique URLs, you can track the journey of each user, of each visitor. So without the UTM tags, you really aren't going to get much information about the visitor. Next, we're going to talk about what you can track. So there's 5 different parameters that you can track. If you're familiar with Google Analytics, you'll be familiar with some of these terms. So it starts out with the source. Where did the traffic come from? Did it come from a website? Did it come from directly knowing your website? come from a Google search on a certain word, maybe a brand word or a competitor word. And you have second parameter tracked is the medium. That's the online channel that brought the visitor to the website. Was it a referral? Was it an email? Then third is the campaign that brought the visitor into the website. So was it a campaign on a specific product that you were featuring, or was it some other campaign? The fourth parameter is the term. What is the specific search term that someone typed into the Google or the Bing search, for example? And then finally, the content. What was the page on your website that they were looking for? Was it the shop page? Was it a blog page? So that in that way, you can really analyze the behavior of the consumers. Next, we're going to get into the UTM parameter structures and the components. I notice we have some things in the chat. So before I get to that, let me look at what's here. Okay, thanks, Varun, for responding. You can, right. So let's get into the details of those 5 parameters that we can track that I just spoke about. So first we have the source. And like I said before, the source indicates the visitor's digital location. So if you look on the right here, this is a URL that Spokes Digital we have created specifically for one of our campaigns. So you can see how it looks. You'll see that it's the shop page. It's Spokes. That shows that it's one of our campaigns, and it's specifically a pay-per-click campaign. You can see on the right there. So we use Spokes as the source for the landing page of the traffic. How Spokes runs, how we run our paid ads is we actually create a unique landing page that's hosted on our servers. In that way, we take on the risk of these campaigns for our clients, so their website is never compromised and their Google ad account is never compromised. So that's the URL that we use in our campaigns, or at least that's how we structure it. Next is the medium. So the medium indicates what content drove the visitor to the website. And again, I spoke about this a little bit before. Did they come directly? Are they familiar with your website and they typed in your website directly? Did they come from Google Organic, meaning we're searching in the search engine and they happen to come upon your website, came to the top of the search? Data Owl, this is an email tracking system. So did they come by email? Or here, for example, Spokes PPC. These visitors came specifically from the paid ads that we ran for this client, whether it be Google, Bing, or for example, Facebook. And also videos, we also do YouTube tagging as well. And the third parameter here is about tracking the campaign, right? You can specifically name a campaign and track where the consumer is coming from, where they're interested. So for example, the example here shows a geofencing. So this is a cannabis delivery client in the Los Angeles area. And you'll see the different locations that we are tracking and driving consumers to those locations, in those locations. Fourth is the term, the specific search term that the user typed into the search engine, what they're looking for. So basically what Google Analytics does is it, you know, tracks that keyword that the consumer is looking for. So you can get that granular. You can see how your campaigns are doing based on the keywords that your visitors are looking for. And then finally, the content. So what is the content that actually brought the visitor in? What were they looking for? So for example, this is something that granularity you can use if you're doing A/B tests on a paid ad. So let's say you have two different um, ad copies or two different images on on the ads that you want to see. Which one is more attractive to the consumers? And you would do that through the campaign parameter. Next, we're going to get into the steps to set up the UTM parameter code. And I'm going to turn that over to Varun. And he's going to have some great client examples too, which are always very, very detailed and helpful. Varun?
Thank you, Lauren. So Lauren has given a very useful information on UTM. So I will just brief you through the process that we follow while we create those UTMs. So this is the next stream, Lauren. So one is the manual builder, where you can see.
Sorry.
Okay, so there are two steps by which we can create the UTM parameters. One is the manual process, and another is the automated process. So automated process is very easy and is preferred versus manual one, but we always have a manual process in case you don't have any tools to help you. So this is an example that we are given on the right side, where we can also type in the URL in this similar fashion, like UTM underscore source is equal to maybe the campaign name, and then you can have the medium is equal to maybe your query. So there are three parts of the whole URL. That is a URL, a query in between, and the query string. So you can also create this manually. And once you do that and do any transactions, analytics will track this in their analytics, and they will show you as a source where you will see whatever is mentioned in the query string. So there's a very manual method in case you don't have access to any tools, but there are always tools that you can see uh, by going to the next slide. This is the way where you can build. So Google gives you a free URL builder, Google Campaign URL builder, that is there for helping developers to create these UTM parameters. So you can see you can put the URL, campaign source, medium, campaign name, term, and then say save, and then a URL will be created that you can use in the campaigns, and you can also put in back of the CTA buttons that you can use to track the performance. So once you fill up all the information that is given over here, you can always create this URL that is in the bottom, and this URL can be created to track the performance of your campaigns. So you can create not only the UTM parameters for your campaign, but also for all these, I'll say, all these things that are part of the whole campaign, like campaigns, ad copies, or you have the keywords, search terms that Lauren was briefing about. You also have performance of the landing pages. You can do the A/B testing. So I think each and everything can be tested. Each and everything can be given a different UTM parameter, and then you can track that in the analytics. There's some steps to set up UTM parameters. Once you not only set up the UTM parameter, but also then uh, track the performance of everything that you create. For example, if you're creating a UTM parameter for the campaign, then you need to track that performance. And how do you do it? Like as I said, you go to the Google and see the performance. So similarly, you can see this screenshot where Lauren was showing you an example in the previous slides where she was showing you the source and medium and also the campaigns. So you can see here the performance of uh, all these campaigns that we created for the client. So by source, you can see the spokes. By medium, you can see by PPC, and by campaigns, you can see Glendale, the location. Similarly, here are different examples where we have the source, then we have the medium as a display, and then we have the month-wise campaign that we have created. Then we also have the other, I would say, UTM parameters that have been set up for the different kind of purposes that are not only for Google campaigns but also for email campaigns. You can see over here. So I think everything is being tracked, and everything can be measured via different UTM parameters for different campaigns, and see the source, medium, and campaign. So now we will see the different common mistakes that people make while creating different UTM parameters that we have also learned. So one mistake that everybody makes while creating those parameters is like uh, creating different uh, taggings for one campaign. For example, one is PPC campaign, and I think we can always call paid campaign by different name like PPC or CPC or ad. So I think it's a one thing, but people have different naming conventions. So you can see in the right side example, uh, Facebook.com has referral as one traffic, then lm.facebook.com is like one of the subdomains, then mobile, then and then web. So everything you can see review.intern. So I think every all six sources have the Facebook as a source, but you can see and everything is referral, means everything's coming from a campaign, but it is not coming under Facebook because of the different term they use in the campaigns. So if you give different uh, like I will say that the same UTM parameters are going to be created for same campaign, then everything will be clubbed under one. Otherwise, Google Analytics will consider it as a different URL if you are not doing same conventions for the UTMs. So that is something we have to be in creating those tags, very consistent in creating those tags and clubbing them into one. Then using different cases for the same tag. So you can see like what we will do, like sometimes they have a lowercase and sometimes they have uppercase for same thing. For example, PPC in lowercase versus PPC in the uppercase. So Google considers cases also as a different URL. So if you have different case, it is a different URL. So in the Google, you will see different tracking. For example, lowercase has a different tracking, and the uppercase has a different tracking for the same kind of campaigns. So we should not do those mistakes. Always create lower cases while doing that, and do the auto tagging of the campaigns. Sometimes I think people use very long names and don't follow the conventions. So what happens, like it's very hard to identify the campaigns in Google Analytics. So there are some examples that I have given. Uh, like people have their own convention, but I think we should not do that. We should always have a very easy naming convention that can be very easy to remember, also easy to track in the analytics. That can be also taken care of while doing that. Then the next big kind of mistake people do is like not accounting for subdomains. So for example, if you have a domain called as abc.com, and then you also have a subdomain as maybe xyz.abc.com, then there is and if you're running campaign for xyz.com, then what will happen, You'll also get the traffic from abc.xyz.com, and it will be counted as a different domain. So as you can see in the example, like subdomain.example, and then we have that is a subdomain, and then we have blog.example. There is also a subdomain. So they are getting a different traffic over here. So we have to, if you want to club the traffic from same campaign, if there's one campaign that is coming only for example.com, then you don't need to give different tags to subdomain and also the blog. So it's like, because both are same, so we have to club them into one if you have subdomains, and then launch the campaign so that there's no bifurcation of the traffic between two domains, between subdomain and the main domain. Now we'll talk about when to use those UTM parameters, because there are different scenarios when you can use that. So one is possibly like email campaigns, because I think the email is one of the best tool for the cannabis and CBD industry, where it is used to generate a lot of traction and sales and revenue as well. So we can always create the separate UTM parameter for the emails, and there are a lot of emails that are there. That's, for example, newsletters. We have promotional emails, so we can create different UTLs for different emails, and you can see that how it is being tracked in the next slide. So we have blurred because it is confidential, but you can see that we have tracked the performance of that previous email campaign that we shown in the right side of the last slide. We can see the performance that we are seeing here. Overall, 165 of 200 emails were opened, and they were also different campaigns have different performances, and then you can see over here. And this is a case study that we got. So different UTM parameters. So if you go to the Google Analytics, then Analytics will track this as a different. So we were tracking as retail email. So source was retail, medium was email, and so you can see source is retail as we gave in the source medium. So you can see the performance and the revenue generated by that email campaign using UTM parameters. Second example is social campaigns. So I think we all do a lot of social sharing, and even though Facebook or Instagram does not allow you to do the ads, and there are a lot of difficulties that we face sometimes to launch ads. So, but there are also uh, organic postings that can be done, also social sharing that can be done. So once we create that kind of post, or we do social sharings, we can always add UTM parameters to the URLs we are putting. For example, if you're posting about your product, there is a hemp cream that is shown in the image. You can always add the UTM parameter on that URL. For example, you are putting a website that is maybe diamondcbd.com, then you can add the UTM parameter on that. Maybe you can give a source as Facebook, medium as the organic posting, and you can post it. And once user clicks on it and comes to the website, it will be shown in analytics as organic traffic coming from Facebook as a referral. So you can see here the example. So if traffic comes to the website, you can see it under referral. So this is like a Facebook referral, and this is another example from social media, other channels, Facebook, Instagram, and then also website. So we have three different examples of UTM parameters for the social campaigns. We also have other examples of paid campaigns though that you can see here. Excuse me. Then we have other uh, campaigns like paid campaigns that are Google campaigns or Bing campaigns or programmatic campaigns as well. So, but we are combining them under paid campaigns. So paid campaigns are like, for example, if you're running the ads and and you are not able to track the performance of the campaigns and analytics properly, sometimes there are like scenarios where you cannot actually where you cannot track the performance because analytics is not linked with the ads. So I think the best way is to create the ad and then give a UTM parameter to the URL you're putting as a landing page and track the performance in the analytics. So that is something we can do, and I think each ad can be given a different UTM parameter if you want to have the A/B test on the ads performance. And if you want to see that, you can always look into that. And the UTM parameters will tell you, how much performance is by which ad and by which campaign in analytics. So you can break it down. That probably is not possible when you launch different campaigns. So you can have different campaigns for different products. For example, a campaign for CBD products, another campaign for delta 8, another campaign for maybe if you have a CBG or CBN, then you can have different campaigns. And under those, we can have different ad groups or different ads that can also be given different parameters and tracked. So I think UTM parameters can go very deeper if you want to see the conversions by campaign and by ad group and by ads. Then it can be done in that way. So you can see the example here. We were testing the UTM parameter for one of the campaigns we were doing for one of our client, and you can see this coming in the referral and the revenue generated by that campaign. Then another great example is the affiliate campaign. So I think affiliate is one of the I will say great source of traffic and revenue for the clients. And once you explore that, I think we need to see that what is the performance of those different affiliates. So it's very difficult to link analytics with maybe affiliate websites because sometimes they may not be that technically sound, or also sometimes there are some issues in integrating the analytics of two different domains. So I think best method is to create an UTM parameter for the affiliate. And for example, this is a Vice example where we created the UTM parameter for this company that were doing affiliate campaign with Vice, and then we track the same performance on the website analytics that we can see here. This is just I think 1 day performance data that we can see. Then also there's like offline campaigns. So this is something is interesting for the dispensaries and various physical stores where we can also maybe add the UTM tracked URLs in brochures, direct mailers, and so on. So what happens when you give the URLs, you also put your source and medium in the URLs. So when people type that by reading the brochures, they also type the UTMs, and once they click on it, you'll also see the performance coming to the website. So this you can see that direct or none. So source medium is like direct and medium is none is because uh, different people are coming to the website by different sources, but they're mentioning that how are they finding it. So they're coming under direct and medium as none. If we were giving uh, the UTM parameters on different, I will say, different branding material that we have, then I think we can also track these. Maybe there will always be a direct or none, but I think we can break it down further. If somebody sees us in a kind of a brochure, somebody sees us in a kind of direct mailer, or somebody sees us in some print media stuff. So I think we can always give that to track the performance of offline campaigns, like publishing in a magazine or something like that, or doing a hoarding and giving the UTM parameter for those URLs. Then we'll talk about the best practices for UTM tracking. I think we have talked about a few things, but I think again, I would like to repeat myself so that we always follow those best practices while we are doing UTM trackings. So, like being specific is very important. So, being specific, I mean, as Lauren said in the last slides, creating the source.
Saw on your Snapchat and your Facebook story.
Does anyone want to ask questions? I just Okay, no problem. I will proceed. So, being specific is very important. For example, uh, showing on in like social media in the URL would not make any sense. So, I think being specific is like a Facebook. PPC campaign and you can see UTM underscore campaign is CBN underscore sleep aid. So this is a very specific UTM parameter that can be created and can performance can be seen in the analytics, so that we also understand that what is the performance of which campaign under which source and which medium. So I think we talked about that also, like keeping tags all lowercase and stay away from the spaces, because generally, if you look at the URL conventions, everything is like in a smaller case while we type URLs. So I think we should also have UTM parameters in lowercase and with no spaces, so that everything is shown as in one convention kind of thing. So you can see here in the right side we have, for example, the UTM parameters as wise.com/referral, right? So it's like it's without spaces in that way. And shift margins for newsletter or sharesalanalytics.com says referral. So everything is in uh, lower cases, but also sometimes we use maybe title cases where we have spokes display. So I think the best method would be to use only one methodology, either lowercase or title case, and see the performance in the analytics. Sometimes what I have seen is like UTM parameter is so long and it's impossible to maybe remember. For I think, for example, if you are giving this URL in a kind of, if you're sharing this URL in some medium or in social media or maybe in your print media, nobody can remember this URL and type it. So I think creating a short URL for the UTM parameters is very important, so that customers can also remember it, and they can be customized as well. So there are a lot of free resources on the web where you can convert URL to short links, and you can also generate the URL. So you can have URL that you want to show the customers. So being consistent is very important when setting UTM tags. So, for example, if you are having different teams working with yourself or different agencies working with you, if they are using the same convention, then your analytics will tag the performance in one under one UTM parameter if everybody is doing same thing. For example, if you are doing organic postings in social media, ask everybody to use the lowercase or like a similar kind of a tag that one is using. Or if you are three partners or four partners, then everybody should know that what UTM we have to use for which activity. Either it is a paid activity, or it is an organic activity, or it's ad campaign, or it's an affiliate campaign or an email campaign. So we have to put the best practices to follow when we are setting up UTM tags, and different team members should not have a different approach for doing that. Then next is like setting the source tag to the name of channel you are using. So I think we always do that. So source should always be the name of the channel. For example, this Facebook PPC and campaign is even sleep. So I think this is something we have to follow, and we also follow it in that way. Sometimes we use the spokes as a source because we don't want to confuse our client. That's why we group the performance of spokes under one umbrella. But when you're doing it for your organization, you should always use source as a channel that you are doing campaign for, and and then use the different URLs as per the source. Then setting the content parameter to something that allows you to identify the individual ad. So as we were talking about in the previous slides, we can always track the performance of individual campaigns as well. And we can also put the UTMs on individual ads. So each campaign and each ad can be tracked as well. So the right side example shows you very specific kind of example where we can see the source and medium. This spokes is a source, medium is PPC, is a paid campaign, pay per click, and campaign name is Long Beach, and ad content is heavy hitters. So what we want to see here is like, for example, if we have a promotion running for heavy hitters, that is a brand, and we are doing a promotion for heavy hitters, and ad is all about heavy hitters, then we are seeing the performance of heavy hitters ad in the location of Long Beach for the campaign that is running for the Long Beach cannabis delivery. and source is spokes, and medium is pay-per-click. So this convention is being followed for 15 campaigns we are doing for our clients on different locations, and you can see different campaigns might have the different ads as well that you can see in the right side. The for example, Burbank is a campaign, but it has an ad out for all products. Then Burbank has a campaign and that has a ad for flowers. Burbank for like Stilzy, there's a brand. So Burbank also has a heavy hitters. So we are seeing the performance of individual campaigns and individual brands by the location and by the sourcing medium. So we are being very granular on this strategy because by doing this enough tracking, we can always have the data in front of us to analyze and make decisions. Because this is all about data-driven marketing. So what we call data-driven marketing as is like having as much data as possible and very specific data as much as possible to analyze and then to make decisions, and based on which we can always refine our strategy to drive the traffic and revenue for our businesses. So I think this is very important aspect of maybe getting more data and also maybe making decisions based on that to make the success for your organization. So I think we are done here. Now we have a Q&A that we can proceed with. And you can also reach to us if you have any other questions. So let's see. I think I had only one question from Brian that he was asking that is this webinar all about marketing? I think Brian is from a merchant service company that I think gets the CBD companies merchant accounts and online or retail business for online and retail business. And I think our topic is all about UTM parameters, that is for tracking marketing campaigns performance for the CBD companies. So maybe I think I replied him, but I don't know if Brian has any other questions.
You can't see that reply because you replied to the panelists. If Brian is there.
Yeah, I'm here. Can y'all hear me? This is Brian. Can
Yes.
y'all hear me? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw this stuff on LinkedIn because I have a lot of, companies that I deal with on there. Obviously, I have a lot of clients on there. And I know that, it's a tricky business to get, merchant accounts and all that. I mean, I'm sure you guys all have merchant accounts. But I know sometimes it's beneficial to have, a secondary one or even a third one for that matter. So that's kind of why I got on this webinar. I was obviously listening to what you guys were talking about. Very, very intuitive stuff. I will say that for the most part. Like I said, I don't own a CBD company, but we do a lot of stuff for, CBD companies. That's why I jumped on this webinar. We can get, CBD companies and even cannabis companies, accounts and whatnot. The cannabis companies are more or less a debit only, but as far as the CBD goes, we get those accounts approved every day. And I do know that, First Data and Clover is shutting people off left and right. So is Square. So I jumped on this, to just to be, just if any of you guys not so much today, but maybe in the future needed a new account. I mean, I could definitely help you guys out with that. I don't really know exactly. I could put my contact info, I guess, on this little chat thing here. If that's what I need to do.
Put your contact in the chat, Brian, and because
Okay.
we're always getting questions from clients, who, like you say, their payment processor got shut down, and
Sure.
looking for our advice on where they can turn. So
Perfect. And in some scenarios, we can get these accounts approved in like 4 hours, which is unheard of at times. So yeah, what I'll do is for everybody that's out there, I will put my information on this little chat thing here in a second. And this, like I said, it's very intuitive. Because I didn't really know exactly what this webinar was about, but it was very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we like to get into detail. Yeah. The only other thing, Varun, if you want to tell everyone, especially our regular attendees, we're going to be having these webinars once a month now on the first Thursday of each month.
Yes.
So look. Yeah, so if everyone can look for our next webinar in a few weeks. And if you have any topics you'd like to hear about, please let us know.
All right, everybody, and please reach out to us for any other questions that you may have, and we would be happy to answer and talk to you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.